Hi there. In this video, we're going to talk about linear pairs and vertical angles. These two things are very critical for us for the rest of the course, okay? We really have to understand what a linear pair is and what vertical angles are because we're going to use these concepts to draw a lot of conclusions. The first and the most important takeaway from this is that linear pairs always add up to 180 degrees, and that vertical angles are always congruent. All right, let's first talk more about linear pairs. So, when I talk about linear pairs, all right, we know that these are going to add up to 180 degrees, okay? And what it is are two adjacent angles. Adjacent means next to, whose non-common ray forms a line. So notice what I have here. I have one angle, angle ABD, and I have angle DBC. Notice how these angles have a common ray, that ray BD, okay? Now, that's what now to talk about this definition, two adjacent angles whose non-common ray forms a line, when I look at the other ray on here, ray BA and ray BC, when this forms a line like this, you have what's called a linear pair. Now, the angles add up to 180 degrees. So what I can say here is that angle ABD plus angle DBC, if I add those two angles up, I get a total of 180 degrees. And that's what a linear pair is, okay? The next one is vertical angles, okay? And we know that vertical angles are going to be congruent. And these are angles that are across from each other at two intersecting lines. So here's what I've got, all right? And I've got this picture of two lines that are intersecting at point F, okay? And I've created four angles from this. Now, from here, what I can say is that angle EFH, this angle here, the one that's across from it, angle GFI, those two angles are congruent. So I could say that angle EFH is congruent to angles GFI. All right, angle GFI. Okay. Now also, okay, in this I have another pair of angles. All right, and those angles are also going to be congruent. Now here I'm going to use two arc marks to show that those angles are congruent because they are across from each other. Okay, so then I would then want to say angle EFG is congruent to angle HFI. Okay, and those are the statements that I can make. Now, what I also want you to notice here is that I have other pairs of angles. Here, I've got these two angles that form a line. Therefore, angle EFH and EFG, these angles form a linear pair. Those angles are going to add up to 180 degrees. So I could say that angle EFH plus angle EFG, if I add those angles together, that's going to give me 180 degrees. Okay, I could also say that angle EFG, EFG plus angle GFI, if I add those up, I'm also going to get 180 degrees, okay? And I can do that for all the other ones too. I'm not going to write those out. But whenever you have intersecting lines, okay, you have all these statements that you can make. Opposite angles are going to be congruent, and adjacent angles are going to add up to 180 degrees, okay? Okay, so on this example, it says, given the picture below, determine the measures of angle DEA and the measures of angle AEB. So DEA has a measure of x plus 25. all right? And the measure of angle AEB is 9x plus 10. So I want to actually figure out what degree measure do these angles have. But before I do that, I have to figure out what x is. So given this picture, what I know is that these two angles are next to each other and they form a line. Therefore, they are a linear pair. So what I can do is I can say angle DEA plus angle AEB, if I add those together, I'm going to get a total of 180 degrees. Now, what I want to do is substitute x plus 25 into angle DEA. All right, so x plus 25 plus 9x plus 10, and I'm substituting 9x plus 10 in for AEB, and that's going to equal 180. Okay, so from here I have an algebra problem, and I just want to solve this equation for x. So first things first, I'm going to combine like terms. X plus 9x gives me a total of 10x. 25 plus 10 gives me 35, and that's equal to 180 degrees. I'm going to subtract 35 from both sides, and that's going to end up giving me that 10x is equal to 145. Now, when I solve this for x, I'm going to divide both sides by 10, and I'm going to get that x is equal to a value of 14.5. Okay, now that I've solved for x, my question was, determine the measures of angle DEA and AEB. So what I want to do is now answer the question and say that angle DEA is equal to x plus 25. But I'm going to substitute this value into x here and here. And so I'm going to do 14.5 plus 25. And for angle AEB, I'm going to do 9 times 14.5 and then plus 10. So let's just evaluate this. If I do 14.5 plus 25, that's going to end up giving me an angle measure of 39.5 degrees. Here, 9 times 14.5 is going to be 130.5. Add 10 to that, and I get 140.5, and that's degrees. Now, what I want to check is do I get 180 if I add these two together? All right, and that's the whole point. So let's do 39.5 plus 140.5, and that does in fact give us 180. Okay, so these are correct. Okay, on our last example, I'm given this picture and I'm trying to calculate all angle measures below. And these angle measures I've denoted as angle 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now I know that angles 1 and 3, angle 3 is 2x plus 9, and angle 1 is 3x minus 1. Now these two angles are vertical angles. So from there, all right, I know that these angles are congruent. All right. I also know that angles 2 and 4 are also going to be congruent because they're vertical angles. Okay. And my arc marks tell me that. So what I want to do is set up an equation to solve for x. Once I figure out what x is, I can then find all the other angle measures. So because these two angles are congruent, all I'm going to do to solve for x is set 2x plus 9 equal to 3x minus 1. Now guys, this is something that you have to create, okay? You have to be given this information on a picture and then write this equation. That's your job. Okay, from here, I'm going to solve this equation for x. I'm going to subtract 2x from both sides, and that's going to give me 9 is equal to 1x, or just x, minus 1. From there, I'm going to add 1 to both sides, and I'm going to get that 10 is equal to x. Now that I have that, all right, here's what I'm going to do. I know that angle, let's use angle 1, is going to be 3x minus 1. what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this value for x and plug it into that expression. So then I'm going to get that angle 1 is equal to 3 times 10 minus 1. 3 times 10 is going to give me 30 minus 1, which gives me 29. So angle 1 is 29 degrees. Now, here's what I know. I know, based off of this information, I know a couple of things. I'm just going to say that angle 1 is congruent to angle 3. I know that angle 2 is congruent to angle 4, okay? The other thing I know is that these also form a linear pair, all right? And it doesn't matter what I do, but I'm going to say that angle 1 plus angle 4 equals 180 degrees. I'm going to also say that angle 2 plus angle 3, add those up, is also going to give me 180 degrees, okay? So from here, and I could do others, okay? I'm not just restricted to these. I could do more. However, what I want to do is use the fact that angle 1 is 29 degrees to then draw some conclusions, okay? Because angle 1 is congruent to angle 3, and angle 1 is 29 degrees, then that means that angle 3 is also 29 degrees. Now, the other thing that I want to figure out is what angles 4 and 2 are. So what I know is that, and let's do this, the angle 1, I'm going to use this guy here, and I'm going to say 29 degrees plus angle 4 is equal to 180 degrees. And all I did was substitute 29 in for angle 1. Here I'm going to subtract 29 from both sides, and I get that angle 4 is equal to 180 minus 29, which was 151 degrees. So angle 4 now, all right, so angle 4 is equal to 151 degrees. Now, because angle 4 is congruent to angle 2, I can also figure out that angle 2 is also 151 degrees. So if I have two intersecting lines, and I figure out what one of those angles in, I can figure out all other angles, and that's pretty cool, okay? And we're going to use this information a lot throughout the year. So I know this is a long video. I just wanted to go through a couple of these problems. I hope to see you soon. You guys are great. Talk to you soon. Bye!